I'll lead into it by giving you a really good example of a client who has really, really appreciated what we've been
Awesome.
able to do. We work with a budding electric vehicle manufacturer here in San Diego, in North County, San Diego, on the coast. And I met them at an event where they had one of their prototype vehicles there.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Chip Murphy from CDM Technology. And today we will dive a bit into his story as well as what it is his company does. And then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Chip, welcome. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Trey.
Chip, if you would please just start by introducing yourself and, tell us a bit about your background, quick snippet of your story, please.
Sure, absolutely. Chip Murphy, my business partner and I, Devlin Malay, founded a company called CDM Technology a little over 11 years ago today. And CDM Technology, we have been in the technical IT recruiting space for 20 something years apiece. We've been working together since 2004. And again, we started our own firm in 2013.
Excellent. Tell me, what was it that sparked your initial interest, to get into this business sector? What made it that you are so passionate about what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Both of us got into it right after college. And admittedly, it was a job after college that was relatively easy to get, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think over the years, probably, early 2000s, we both, and me specifically, I had success at what I was doing. I had success at building relationships with people. I had success at um, finding people jobs and the ability to match someone's background, someone's resume to what a client had a need for. And I really, really enjoyed developing relationships. I I wouldn't have thought of myself as a people person and probably till my later years in college. And the recruiting space and the relationships that you need to build, it just came very naturally to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed what we did.
yeah, that's awesome. Uh, Tell me, Chip, based on your expertise, I mean, you've been at this for quite some time, right? What are the current market trends that you are aware of? What's what way is the wind blowing these days? What have you been noticing?
Yeah, there's a lot of various different things, and as of late, and most of them, quite frankly, were brought on by the pandemic. Um,
Yeah,
the pandemic brought a very unique set of circumstances to the hiring job market, and I think at first you saw obviously everybody worked remote.
yeah,
Um, and that had both good, positive and negative impacts on the job market. What I think you really saw from a hiring perspective is that some companies kind of freaked out a little bit with regards to
yeah,
the ability to attract talent. And so you had, kind of we get tapped to find software engineers. They're really, really hard to find software engineers. The software engineers that people, or rather companies, can't find themselves, right? And
yeah,
you had kind of your run of the mill, low six figures in terms of salary people suddenly getting job offers in the job market for 20, 30, 40% more than what they were making. It was almost sort of a funny money type mentality.
yeah,
And us having done this for so long, I think we quickly realized that not only A, was it funny money, but B, those people had to be incredibly careful because you just knew at some point the market was going to sort of resettle. And when it did resettle, you had folks that were analyzing their talent on their teams and why I'm paying mid to high six figures for someone who does a job, and I've
Correct.
got another person doing the exact same job for low six figures, sort of back to those rates or those salaries that were, pre um, pandemic. And
Right.
that in turn changed the job market, because then suddenly you had a lot of people looking for jobs, and the smart ones, they went back to kind of that range, or willing to look in that range that they were making before they got this, sort of gigantic angel uh, 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 increase in salary. And then you had a set of folks that were like, well, hey, I now make X and I'm worth X and I'm never going to take anything less than X. And I think those people have really, really struggled over the
Struggled.
last 12 to 16 months in finding a job, especially within the technical sector.
That's very interesting, man. Tell me, I think this is maybe a good time if you could, just explain to us maybe a bit deeper onto, specifically, obviously, in recruitment, but what it is your company does. Just elaborate maybe a bit more if you don't mind.
Yeah, great. Of course. And something really easy to talk to, or talk about, I should say. The,
Awesome.
yeah. Uh, we go after the companies, and it really doesn't matter what size. It could be a company, 25 people, 50 people, 75 people. It could be 500 people. If they have you gravitate towards what you're good at. And we are good at finding really, really hard to find resources. So a lot of times companies that are smaller, they don't necessarily have a talent acquisition group that can find them sort of this really obscure software developer with a certain set of skills, or a certain experience with a certain set of tools, etc. And those are the companies, again, both small, big, or small, medium, and big. We're attracted to those types of environments, and we've found that the clients that look for those types of people, for whatever reason, we just sort of gravitate towards. They seem to be our kinds of people. That's not to say that we have clients that, you know we don't maybe we don't share the exact same ideas, or share the exact same philosophy. They just have a need, and they know that we're good at it, and they'll use us. But most of our clients end up becoming kind of friends, quite frankly, and almost family in some regards, because we're just all we find that we're very cut from the same cloths that the majority of our better clients are.
Tell me, the you've actually mentioned now, a couple of good value points, about your business. From just out of your own words, what would you say, like if somebody, had to ask here, what is the most significant value that you would say that your business bring to the table, right? From that you would say, hey man, this is the value that differentiates us.
It's a good question, and I'll lead into it by giving you a really good example of a client who has really, really appreciated what we've been
Awesome.
able to do.
Yeah.
We work with a budding electric vehicle manufacturer here in San Diego, in North County, San Diego, on the coast. And I met them at an event where they had one of their prototype vehicles there.
Right.
And he was a finance guy, he's like a controller. And he essentially said, yeah, like, you are really speaking to what we are about to go through, and I'd really love to use you to help us find resources. And I said, great, you guys are. And he said, but we are a startup, and so as startup money goes, it ebbs and it flows. Sometimes you have a ton of cash, and sometimes you don't have a ton of cash. And so
Yeah.
we sort of designed a plan for them that, number one, we were able to get them high quality software, technical, embedded, mechanical engineers, to the likes of resources that they had never seen before. And we provided them some on a permanent basis when they were going through ebbs where they had a lot of cash, and they could sort of pay for our services. And then when they were kind of going through downturns of cash, we would provide them on a consultant to hire range. And so I would say probably within 6 months of working with them, I would routinely hear from all sorts of people in the organization that we were working with, hiring managers, director of people and culture, HR folks, like, and it was more of a check-in for us of like, hey, how are we doing? Like, are we giving you what you want, right? Because why not, right? Why not ask how you're doing? A waiter wants to ask the people that he's serving, hey, how am I doing today, right? Did my
Yeah,
service,
yeah,
was my service good? Great. And I took that approach with them, and they came back and said, you have no idea the level of resources that you guys are bringing us is to the likes of, like I said, folks we've never seen before. We've never been able to get our hands on these types of people because our HR/talent acquisition people, they don't have the deep network of resources that you do here in San Diego, having 20 something years of experience. But also, you can't just post an ad on some platform, the likes of which we all know,
yeah.
and just kind of hope for the best, right?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
I'll put an ad out there. 9 times out of 10, most of these job platforms, you are going to get 100 resumes in a
Yeah,
few days. And quite frankly, one or two of them is going to be worth looking for. And if you're a company like them going through a startup phase, you have managers wearing all sorts of different hats every single day. Do you think they have time to sort through 100 resumes when only one or two are worth looking at? They don't.
it's
And
tedious.
that's the value of someone like us, right? If your process of steps is A through F, from it identifying a candidate to hiring a candidate, A through F, we literally do A through D for you. And so we bring you a candidate on a platform. And again, uh, stepping aside from that client alone, I think the majority of our clients would tell you quite easily that we know that those steps have been done. Like, I don't have to worry about when I get a candidate from Chip or Devlin that that candidate in some which way has been vetted to that they know that I'm going to like
Yeah,
this person for a wide variety of reasons.
got it.
So in any case, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely it does. Definitely it does. The I'm quite curious. You know, I personally don't know the that's that industry that well, specifically obviously in recruiting. But I'm curious, Chip. Tell me on. Do you like see significant like changes between, let's say, age groups when it comes to the hiring process?
Mhm.
Are there like a couple of interesting things that comes out into the different age groups as I don't want to call it, it's a like Gen X, baby boomers, things like that. Sorry, I'm just curious.
Yeah, you're speaking to someone who is on the latter side of the 40s, right? Don't let my gray hair
Well,
and
you
lack of hair
myself,
fool you. No,
I'm in the
but
beginning of 40, so
it's a really good question that you asked because the job market as a whole, especially within the technical space,
yeah,
is facing. I don't know if I would use the word crisis by any means, but it could be, quite frankly, a crisis for them. And that is, again, going back to the pandemic, you had
yeah,
a lot of folks in the age group of 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, even in somewhat into the 30s that suddenly found themselves working remote. And a lot of them did not understand the full picture of what that was. And they only looked at the benefit of it of, oh, I get to work remote, and wow, this is the new norm and this is going to be great.
yeah,
And one of the things that those folks lack now is, A, some of them just lack the ability to look for a job that's not remote, but
yeah.
B, they missed out on so much leadership and so much mentorship and so many opportunities to have human to human contact
Wow,
in a
wow.
job setting, whether that was a confrontational thing, whether it was dealing with joy, dealing with pain, dealing with whatever that takes place in the workplace.
Yes, in the
Uh,
office.
and we are faced with it bred a sense of entitlement. And the it would be an interesting case study in 6, 7, 8 years to see what happens to a majority of these folks. like I said, I think the smart ones that have their parents in business, I think hopefully their parents are encouraging them like, hey, this is not going to be a remote workforce forever. These are cycles.
Yeah,
And I think one of the great things about my age is that I've seen some of these cycles now happen a couple different times. And it's just a matter of time. And it is just a matter of time before everybody's back in the office. It might be a little bit different than what the traditional thing was before the pandemic, but for the large part, you're going to see a lot of companies moving back in the office full time, 3, 4, 5 days a week. We've certainly seen it in San Diego. I've talked to a lot of C-level executives around town who are not only have a 2025 plan to do that,
yeah,
but phasing out hybrid completely by the end of 2025.
my word. I think this is maybe a good time to let's step a bit back to just a bit back from the business. Tell me, just in general, you've got obviously a colorful background. In your opinion, Chip, what type of mindset, like, would you say you've done it? What mindset is needed to be a successful founder of a company?
Oh, man.
Loaded question, right?
You're pounding me with good questions, Dragon. I appreciate it.
Sweet.
I don't want anyone to take this anything other than from a pragmatic uh, logic sense of the meaning
Sure.
of what I'm about to say, and that is, if you're going to found a company, you better have really good partners, and you better very quickly identify what you are good at and what they are good at, and in some, you talk about wearing. I talked earlier about startup companies, especially in the technology space. You have to wear a lot of hats, right?
Sure.
Yes, if you found a company, you do have to wear a lot of hats. There's no two ways about that. That said, you inherently kind of have to know, like I said, what you're good at, and you sort of have to stay in those lanes. And you have to trust the process that your partners that you know are very good at what they do are going to deliver in what they do. Um, if I had a dollar for every time Devlin's probably had a thought of, man, I sure don't know what's going on in that sector of our business, but I know Chip's got it taken care of, and vice versa. I certainly don't know what's going on in Devlin's world every single day, but I know he's got it taken care of.
Yeah.
And you have to have
That trust, right?
yeah, you have to have that trust, and you have to be driven. You have to if I had speaking of dollars, if I had a dollar for every time I woke up at 4 in the morning with my mind just racing of like what needed to be accomplished that particular day for a wide variety of reasons, I'd have a lot of dollars in my pocket. So you have to not be afraid to really work hard and put in hours at really odd times of the day. You could have proverbial itches that need scratching in your brain. And there are times where it's like, man, I'm just going to do this right now. I'm going to sit down and look at this Excel spreadsheet right now. I'm going to sit down and do payroll right now. I'm going to sit down and do invoices right now because it's the easiest thing for me to do to get it off my plate. And whether that happens at 6 in the morning or whether that happens at 6 at night, I'm not afraid to do it. And I
Yeah.
think most founders would tell you, both companies my size and companies up to 2, 3, 4 billion. You surround yourself with good partners, and you're not afraid to work at any particular moment of the day.
Yeah, that's quite profound. Does it you have to do what it takes, right? But if you don't mind to maybe latch on that, what are some of the most important things uh that you would say up until now that you've learned in your career? And the reason why I'm asking you this is, we've got a lot of listeners that they might be a bit stuck in a rut. Might be the organization they're working for, or it might be that that they're wanting to get out there and start their own thing and become their own business owner as well. Get that entrepreneurial spirit going. Say maybe one or two important things that up until now that you've learned that you don't mind sharing, maybe so one or two.
Well, it's interesting you say get stuck in a rut. Again, part of my age and and part of being in business for so long, you do get stuck in ruts. And I
Yeah,
think I'll try to hammer home 2 points.
sure.
One is, if you have people in your network, and as founders you absolutely need them. Typically, it doesn't matter whether they're older. I find them typically to be older than me, but not by much. And I lean on them all the time, right? And when you're going through really difficult down times of being stuck in ruts and like, oh man, I got to do this again today, or I got to do that again this month, or what have you, it is, my mentors sort of use there's an Instagram reel with Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks quotes someone else out there these days. And it was an interview he was doing, and he said, "It too shall pass." And that is a really good thing that I remind myself when I go through ruts, is like, this will pass, right?
Mm,
And then you're going to find yourself at the exact same feeling that you had before, right? And if you were driven before, you'll be driven again. And if you were motivated before, you will find yourself motivated again. So it too shall pass, for sure. And I think, again, having really good folks around you, mentors, friends, that you can just pick up the phone and call and just say, "Hey, I'm going through a rut," or "Hey, I got this employee who's driving me crazy," or "I got this client that just doesn't see the way the things that I do," right?
yeah, yeah,
You get information, whether they talk you out of it, maybe sometimes they do, or whether they just give you a tidbit that you're like, "Ah, right, I knew that, forgot about it," and yet you're on your way.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I think in our particular instance, the last thing I'll say is, you, it's a risk to enjoy the slow times, but don't be afraid to take a day when it's slow to enjoy it, right? And whether that's a day off, whether
yeah,
that's you go to the gym for 2.5 3 hours during the day instead of an hour and a half or two, like, just just go do it. Go do it. It's a slow time, appreciate it, because your history would tell you that, like, you're going to be motivated again, you're going to be busy again, and it's just a
yeah.
matter of time before that happens. So take the moment to enjoy it.
Yo, Chip, that's such good advice, man. I must say that's. I think there's a couple of people making some good notes right now. Tell me, Chip, where can the listeners, where can everybody get hold of you guys?
Yeah, you can find us at www.cdmtechnology.com. If you are a candidate looking for a job, obviously, as I've mentioned, the IT software sector is sort of our bread and butter. That said, over the course of the last 3 years, we had a particular client that brought us all sorts of different recruiting opportunities. And that's kind of what spawned us, quite frankly, into the electric vehicle space. I placed a fabricator and a welder last week. Haven't done that
Okay.
in 20 something years.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
don't even know if I've ever done that. Um, so to that point, if you're someone looking for a job, whether we can help you directly or we can help you indirectly through people that we've known and added to our network over the years in the recruiting field, absolutely. And if you're a client, to that point, and you've got needs, and your needs aren't getting fulfilled by whatever internal resources you have, or it's just, quite frankly, taken too long, right? You put a job
Yeah,
requirement out, you need this person within 3 4 5 months. We can typically take that process down to 2 or 3 weeks if you want to work that fast. And so we love to work, like I said earlier, we love to work with companies and people that are cut from the same cloth as us. And
as you guys.
um, that's kind of the bread and butter of us. And again, you can find us at www.cdmtechnology.com.
Excellent, Chip. Well, I can fully understand why your partner and the business are doing so well. There's some excellent value points you just mentioned, and I wish you guys all the best going forward. Love to have you back on one day. Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate you.
Of course, Trey, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Same to you. Awesome.
You too.